Mhm.
Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers around the world. I'm Fiona Lang Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Well, it's that time of year. We're talking about all things summer. And of course, coming up here, we have our Gold Summer Day for you at Gold Learning. We're very excited. It's just coming up pretty soon here. So you can head over to the website right now to get all the details. I don't want you to miss out. You can register for the event. So on goldlearning.com, so it's pretty easy to remember. Head over there and you can see all of our special guests. We've got three incredible presentations coming up for that day. And one of those speakers, of course, is with me here today. So Dr. Christine Can is with us. Thank you so much, Christine, for being with us here today.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. And Christine, you're going to be talking about the hidden mechanics of infant feeding, understanding suck, swallow, breathe coordination. Now, I have to say that the suck, swallow, breathe, I think is really always so popular. And I think it's because we're always trying to break it down and figure all things out. But why do you love that topic so much?
Yeah, I stumbled upon it right when I became an occupational therapist. So I did my doctorate in the suck, swallow, breathe coordination in kids with Down syndrome because the
Oh,
clinic that I worked at was focused a lot on feeding, and it
right.
was more more evident in a syndrome for Down syndrome because of their different anatomy. So
Sure.
that's what started my interest. And then working in a pediatric setting, we just did a lot of feeding. But you can really see it like really play when you are seeing infants. Like in
Right.
toddlers, it's so quick. You don't really see it happening, but in
Right.
infants, it's right there. You can see it in their body, you can see it how they breathe, you can see it in their eyes. It's very obvious for infants. So it's very fun to see I guess just to see the synchrony
Sure.
in infants. And then I guess working in the NICU, it also is a big player in being an occupational therapist in the NICU because we it's also the suck, swallow, breathe. And when your respiratory is compromised or something else is compromised, yeah, it's very intricate. The more I studied it, I'm learning more and more that it's not that simple.
Well, you're breaking it down for me right now is making me really excited to hear, I guess from the viewpoint of what you see and how it translates, and bring going back and forth, because I think that's the fascination of these sort of intricate parts of the body is understanding the viewpoint, seeing through your lens, which is slightly different. You have a unique position yourself, as you mentioned, being in occupational therapy, but you've also worked in the NICU, private practice. Like you have a whole range of things that you've done. Tell me a little bit about that and how your experiences have really shaped your approach to
Yeah.
helping those babies.
Yeah, so I started out in classic pediatric therapy, pediatric outpatient, focused on feeding the suck, swallow, breathe, and then midway into it, I actually injured my back working
Oh,
with pediatrics, and so
right.
I went smaller. I went with
Yeah,
infants. I went into the NICU, and as an occupational therapist, we do a lot of feeding evaluations, feeding assessments, and because feeding is a developmental process and
sure.
it's much more complex than just sucking and swallowing. So then I got more into breastfeeding and more into feeding high risk infants in the
Hmm.
NICU, and then I became a mother. I had three beautiful children. I fell in love with breastfeeding. Wanted to, and also my children have some variations of tongue ties and lip ties. And so that also kind of impacted me personally. And then so I went into this journey of first with my professional background, just learning oromotor from just being pediatric,
Mm,
the classic oromotor, like using like
right.
the T tubes, using vibration, using
Yeah.
cold, using hot, just the classic occupational therapy ways of treating feeding, and then moving more into a more like high acuity in the NICU and just being more aware of how when you're less stable with your oxygen and with your breathing and your heart, how that impacts the suck swallow breathe coordination, and then just flowing into breastfeeding and how you can also see the same sequence and pattern beautifully in breastfeeding too, and how it's actually a little bit more regulated in breastfeeding. So that's just
Right.
kind of like a combination of my experiences, is just kind of being a pediatric therapist to more of a high acuity, and then just to my own personal experience.
That's amazing. Well, you have a lot to share just from a personal and professional standpoint. No wonder this is such a great fit for you. Talking a little bit more about the suck, swallow, breathe, because I feel like sometimes it sounds simple, but it's actually, like we said, a little bit more complex coordination. And you've probably seen that in your career too. But what's the biggest misconception people have about it, do you think, when what do you hear, when people are
Yeah.
talking about it?
I think what I mostly hear is it's mostly about the sucking. Like, if a baby can suck, how come they cannot eat? And,
Right.
if I can see a baby suck on a pacifier really well, I can see them suck really well. Why is it
Hmm.
that they're not feeding well? Like, why is it that they are losing weight? Like, why can't they feed if the mechanics are there? And I
Hmm.
think the misconception is that feeding is all voluntary, but actually the suck swallow breathe, there is some involuntary. It's actually
Okay.
really it's more primitive. So in the
Hmm.
brainstem, like, you have the frontal core, or the cerebral cortex, that is more higher functioning, and then deep down into the brain you have the brainstem, and the brainstem is more primitive. And so there is some higher functioning on the outside of the brain related to, like, the oral phase, like the using your tongue and using the chewing. But when you get to the swallow, that's when it relies more on the involuntary, the more primitive. So that it's a reflex, and and sometimes that reflex also, there's a coordination of all these different muscles. There's a coordination between all these little tiny muscles, and that you cannot do voluntary. So that's
Mm,
why it's a little bit more complicated, because you don't
right.
really have control over that. You don't have control of something instantaneous, and you don't have control of involuntary muscles.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, you just kind of like drew me right in there. I have to say, like, this by far, this is going to be one of my I think one of my best packages this year because it's right up my alley. It's sort of really getting to the crux of everything. So I'm excited. All right, and let's talk a little bit about your presentation, just for 1 second here, because I don't want to give away too much. We want everybody to come and attend and have some, some learning and some fun and some feedback, bring everything that you have, because this is going to be a live event and you'll have an opportunity to sit down with Dr. Christine Can as well. The hidden mechanics of infant feeding, understanding suck, swallow, breathe coordination. In your presentation, is there one thing that you feel is going to surprise people or you're excited to teach or share a little bit about when it comes to your presentation?
Yeah, I think nowadays we have so much like media. So I'm actually excited to show you a lot of videos, videos
Oh,
on what happens beyond what we see here. So
mm-hmm.
there is nice videos that show you where the tongue moves, how the swallowing happens. So you can actually visualize it in your head when someone is swallowing. So it's more than what you can see orally. It's really when
Right.
someone closes their mouth and then all you see is like, you can imagine what's happening. So
Yeah.
that's probably what I'm most excited is to
Oh,
kind of
that's
visualize it
great.
for you guys.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting. I think that just adds that whole element of, being able to see beyond the outside because, of course, that's what we see when we go to visit families. But understanding and connecting the dots just takes a whole different element into consideration, and that how we need to investigate further. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Our time has gone so quickly here, but I appreciate everything that you're doing and how you're just changing the trajectory here. So, once again, for your topic coming up, actually, just for us, today is coming up on Monday, the 18th of August, the hidden mechanics of infant feeding, understanding suck, swallow, breathe coordination with Dr. Christine. And we have also breastfeeding biomechanics, functions, approaches to oral coordination. That's the whole package, which is going to be fantastic. Two of the other speakers, Effeth Yasmin and, of course, Joanna Sargent. Don't forget to join us on goldlearning.com in order to learn all about it. Thank you to you, Dr. Christine Lamcan. It's been so wonderful having you here today. And of course, I'll look forward to seeing you and hosting you next week on Gold Learning. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Bye bye for now.
Thank you.